Hello, my true crime junkies. Welcome back. We're back in a new week, a new episode. If you are new, please don't forget to subscribe, and I would love for you to leave a comment below or a review. I would really appreciate that for all the support. Today, I am bringing to you an international murder case that takes place in Dominican Republic. We are going to be talking about a young girl named Emily Peguero. She was born in the Dominican Republic to her mother, Adalgisa Polanco. Not much was said about her father on this case. I do know that he was involved, but he was not a lot of details were provided. Emily's family lived in a small, quaint home with shuttered windows, a flat roof, and painted mural of a butterfly on the front-facing wall that faded from the sun. Her parents struggled to support her and her three older siblings, juggling low-paid part-time jobs. She was dating, at this time, a young boy named Marlon Martinez. They grew up together in the Cenote, on the outskirts of the city of San Francisco de Macorís, in the mid-2000s, playing with other local kids in the street of their hometown. Marlon lived across the road from Emily, but they might as well have been in two different worlds. He lived in a grand modern villa, closed off by a large front garden and gates. Marlon was born in New York City in 1998 and was raised by his mother and stepfather in the Dominican Republic. His family could afford holidays and lavish gifts and sent him to expensive schools out of town. As the years passed, Emily and Marlon lost contact and only saw each other on passing. In his late teens, Marlon rekindled a connection with Emily, and the pair started to date. Marlon now at this time was 18, Emily was just 15 years old, below the age of consent in the Dominican Republic, which is 18. Emily's parents were supportive of their daughters dating him, of his daughter dating, their daughter dating him, Marlon, but they didn't warm up to Marlon's mother, who they thought was very judgmental of their family. Emily was also uncomfortable with the difference in wealth between the two families. She worried that she was a burden on Marlon and his family, and that his mother didn't want him dating her. She told Marlon about her concerns, but he reassured her that he didn't mind that she and her family was poor. Emily unfortunately got pregnant in the early 2017. As a minor, she was worried at first about having a baby. Catholicism played a big part in her family's life, and abortion went against her religion. She would often attend church summer camps and had framed images of Jesus on her wall in her bedroom. She also knew that taking abortion pills or getting a back alley abortion could land her in jail, even kill her. After telling her mom and discussing the situation with her, Emily decided to keep the baby. Marlon's mother, however, wasn't thrilled at the idea of her son becoming a father so young, and with a poor girl from the family next door. In August of 2017, Emily had been missing for less than 24 hours. She was 16 years old at this time, 5 months pregnant, and she disappeared. Marlon, her boyfriend, had last seen her on the morning of August 23rd of 2017. As the hours passed that day, Marlon saw her name started to be talked about on social media pages amongst their friends. Friends and family said that it wasn't like her to not reply to text messages or ignore phone calls, and they asked where Emily might have gone. By that evening, it became clear no one had heard from her or seen Emily since Marlon last saw her. By the next morning, and still no word from Emily, Marlon knew he had to do something. Marlon's mom, her name is Marlon, wanted to help her son. As a senior, well-connected civil servant, she was a powerful figure in the Dominican Republic. Mother and son invited two local reporters to their home in the town of Cenote, a few hours north of the main capital, Santo Domingo, so they could publicly express their concern about Emily's disappearance. Marlon and his mother led the reporters into their living room in their home. He was dressed in a gray t-shirt. Marlon appeared less formal than his mother, who wore a dark suited jacket. When the cameras were turned on, they focused on him. Looking at the floor, Marlon began to describe the last time he saw his girlfriend. After several minutes, he finally looked into the camera, pleading for her to come back home. He stated, We had problems, but problems that are common to all couples, he said. We accepted her pregnancy. We said we continue forward. I want to now make this public announcement to Emily. No matter where you are, please, we are waiting for you with open arms, end quote. At that point, Marlon stopped speaking, staring back down at the floor. He threw his head into his hands and sat silently. As the reporters behind the cameras began to ask questions, after a moment of quiet, the shot panned out to show his mom, who then began to talk. She said, "She was already a part of us. She was my son's girlfriend," she said before correcting herself. "Is the girlfriend of my son. She was 5 months pregnant and we just found out. We gave her our support." And then at that point, she begins to sob. "I understand how her parents feel," she said, with a slight tremble. "And we feel even worse. Wherever you are, Emily, don't make us suffer anymore," end quote. Soon after Emily's disappeared, suspicion turned to Marlon and his mother. People who had never met the couple began to question Emily's relationship with Marlon. Rumors swirled around about the poor girl who had gone missing and the wealthy, powerful family of her boyfriend. He told the gathered video journalists that he had not seen Emily since he dropped her off at a gas station on the morning of August 23rd, when he said he saw her get into a car to take her to her prenatal appointment. But rather than the public suspicion, the press conference only added fuel to the fire. Why, people ask? Did the mother and son invite reporters to their house rather than go to the police, as Emily's parents had done? Why did they keep referring to Emily in the past tense? When a person is lying, they look to the floor, and he's only looking at the floor, read a comment under the copy of their taped conference. Another read, "Not only did she say she was my son's girlfriend, but she also said she was part of us. She was 5 months pregnant." So at this point of time, with her missing, the community was full of conspiracy theories on this case. With all the suspicion surrounding him, Marlon went to Emily's family's home for the first time since she went missing. It was there that Marlon decided to hand himself to the police, realizing they would likely arrest him and question him soon anyways. He agreed for the family to take him to the police station, where he was arrested as the main suspect of her disappearance. 5 days after her disappearance, local police made a breakthrough. On Monday, August 28th, they traced the geolocation of Emily's phone to Marlon's mother's apartment in San Francisco de Macorís, where she stayed when she worked away from Sanofi. When police searched the apartment, they found blood spatters on the mattress. 2 days later, a security guard at the apartment block said that he had seen Marlon carrying a sack out of the building. He also said Marlon's mother had asked to see the footage later that week. It had been stolen. "I don't know if that lady took it," the guard told the police. "I only know that when she saw the video, she put her hand on her head and started screaming," end quote. Public anger continued to grow, much of directed to Marlon's mother, which many seeing her as an evil female mastermind behind Emily's disappearance. Across the country, people believed she would use her influence and wealth against a poor family in order to protect her son. On Wednesday, August 30, the same day the security guard spoke to the police, she handed herself into the authorities. Her lawyer instead insisted she did this only to cooperate with the police. During her arrest, reporter asked if she had been involved in the young girl's disappearance. She replied, I am not an accomplice. I never would. I only acted like a mother, end quote. Finally, the pieces began to fall into place. Later that day, Marlon made a confession to the police, and the Peguero's family's worst fears were confirmed. He admitted to killing her. It was the first time the police knew for sure that she was dead. Marlon told the police that he left her body in a local landfill, and the police drove him to the site. Angry crowds gathered around the car, and officers fired shots into the air in the attempt to drive them away. As Marlon sat and waited in the car, authorities searched and searched, but after 7 hours, they gave up. They couldn't find her body. Later that day, across town, Emily's older brother, Eugenio, received a bunch of messages on his phone from people telling him they had heard a body has been discovered in the province of Espaillat, about an hour drive from Senovi. As the sun set and the police descended on the town, Emily's brother and her relatives frantically drove to the site. Crowds of people had gathered in the darkness, illuminated by the blue and red of the flashing police lights. When the family arrived, they saw people standing around an abandoned suitcase by the side of the road. At 8 p.m. on August 31st, Emily's decomposing body was found inside. Her family was dealing with the harsh reality of what she had suffered. The police and forensic reports about her death, compiled between September and December of 2017, as seen, details of the scale of violence inflicted on her. Emily experienced internal bleeding, believed to have come from a botched abortion attempt. She also suffered a blunt force blow to the skull. Police had since learned that Marlon didn't take Emily to the gas station on that morning of her death, as he told reporters. Instead, he took her to his mother's empty apartment. The prosecution told the court that Marlon forced her to drink an unknown liquid to induce an abortion, causing the internal bleeding, and then killed her by hitting her over the head. After Marlon killed Emily, he put her body in a sack, carried it down down the stairs and out of his mother's apartment's block, and threw it from a bridge in Senovi onto the soil below. The prosecution argues that he then called his mother to tell her what he had done and to ask her to help him. In the early hours of August 24, according to the police, she discussed with her son and two accomplices, her brother, Martin, and a friend, Simon Bolivar Ureña, what to do with Emily's body. Angry at her son's failure to hide the body in a discreet place, she insisted he moved it. Marlon then collected Emily's body from under the bridge, stuffed it into a suitcase, and dumped her by the side of the road in a town 1 hour away from Senovi where she lived. In May, Ricardo Reyna, the defense lawyer of Marlon, said that his client was not guilty of murder. Instead, he argued Marlon participated in Emily's abortion procedure, which accidentally led her to her death. Reyna argued there is no evidence to suggest Emily's death was a murder. Marlon and his mother, Marlene, had been held in a preventive detention since late 2017 as they faced pre-trial deliberations. Trial proceedings were due to begin May 18th that year, but the court delayed them until June 11th of that year. Marlon faces up to 30 years in prison for the murder of Emily, and his mother, accused of complicity in the concealment of Emily's corpse, can face up to 20 years. In the 9 months since Emily's death, each week that brought fresh drama to the pretrial proceedings. Family members have boycotted some hearings, multiple defense lawyers have dropped out, and a suspect who authorities believe to have fled the country was arrested at the airport. In April, Emily's father, Genaro, that's his name, was arrested after he allegedly tried to bring a firearm into the courtroom. Marlon's mother is described as the overprotective